Okay. Hey guys, what's up? Most of you should know me. Just been emceeing up here most of the week. So I am James with Zeitgeist and privileged to host this esteemed panel. We're going to have to talk to Elizabeth about, she must have been having an LSD trip when she decided to have this panel up here and not downstairs. This is main stage stuff, eh? Guys, it's a real privilege to have you all on stage. I am really excited to get through where we're at with regards to liquid staking in the Polkadot ecosystem, but we have only half an hour, so we're going to do our best. I'm going to try and address different people for different questions, and we only have 3 microphones. I chose Nick to have the microphone because he was the closest to me. There's no favoritism, okay? So let's go. Just a short introduction for the audience here, starting with Anish, and we'll come around and then get into the questions. Anish.
Hi, my name is Anish. How do I describe myself? Long timer, worked on a couple of L1s that you may recognize. These days I mostly work on 1ZK protocol and do bits of LSD work on Filecoin ecosystem and another ecosystem which I shall not go into detail.
Hello, hello everyone. I'm JAKUB, co-founder of HydraDX and Basilisk.
Hello. Hey everyone, I'm Nicholas, DeFi lead at Parity Technologies, so focused on bringing new partners, builders, developers into the Polkadot ecosystem at the parachain application level and infrastructure layer.
Hello everyone, I'm Christian, I'm growth manager at Bifrost Finance. Bifrost is a liquid staking protocol which is built on Polkadot and Kusama, but also deliver liquid staking protocol on Ethereum and Filecoin at the moment.
Hey everyone, my name is Paul. I'm one of the co-founders of DIA, and I'm leading business development at DIA. DIA is a cross-chain oracle, and we're present on a bunch of different parachains, and we're quite excited how we can help with LSD price feeds, making LSDs more utilized.
Awesome, yeah. So you can see why they've all been selected for the panel. Liquid staking is obviously a primary driver of ecosystem growth, especially when you measure it by TVL. Central promise of enhancing capital utilization by staking native network tokens is obviously incredibly attractive for investors. DeFi projects, L1 and L2 networks, and obviously unlocking billions of dollars in capital to drive protocol usage and locking funds is a desirable goal, but competition is fierce, right? Architectures are different, and the journey isn't without risks. And that's what I want to start with. Let's come to JAKUB at Hydra. What are some of the primary risks when it comes to offering liquid staking products and liquid staking derivatives on a platform like Hydra, for instance?
Yeah, so obviously we need to, like our community need to consider many of risks. That's obviously number one will be probably like platform risk. So we need to dig a little bit deeper into the liquid staking provider, how they are providing the risk, how they are choosing validator set, what are the risk of slashing, how they are maybe socialize, possible slashing, if they have something like slashing insurance, and how they are choosing the validator set, what's its quality, if it's centralized or if it's distributed. Maybe if they are incorporating a distributed validator technology, it's also like pretty hot topic right now in crypto in general, but the area is pretty new. So not sure if the technology is so battle tested, then obviously then we have to also reconsider or like consider if there will be even like demand for such asset.
Now let's look at the overall landscape. And just generally, as I mentioned in my intro, LSDs have really driven a lot of user growth, people are excited to now stake their tokens because they have liquid derivatives, right? What about the current landscape where we are, not just Polkadot, overall? What does it look like with regards to issuers, capital staked, and DeFi adoption, and the support of liquid staking derivatives? Anish, let's start with you.
So I would say liquid staking has really taken off with the ETH transition, let's put it that way, right? And that really allowed the liquid staking to get to the volumes that we are currently seeing everywhere. And firstly, there was this risk return in that sense. It's like if you were to actually do something and there's a direct risk to what you're doing, and this was like, okay, it reduces the overall risk and it actually increases your return. So this was the paradigm that actually attracted a lot of the liquidity. And then if you look at the size of protocols, if you look at things like Lido and other ones, it's like quite huge, like, pretty huge. I would go as far as to say one of the risks that we have for liquid staking is the liquid staking protocols don't really correspond to the underlying protocol security margin. Okay, that's how scared I am of that one.
Yeah. Paul, I'm going to come to you next in terms of the landscape. Obviously, as an Oracle, you guys have you have a really nice sort of bird's eye view of the landscape. How do you feel about where the industry lies in terms of LSDs?
Yeah, I absolutely agree. I think, especially on Ethereum, we are still seeing continuous growth. Also, maybe with still a high concentration on Lido, but quite a lot of different new LSD protocols starting and attracting very fast, very significant TVL. So that's something we are, I'd say, currently still missing in Polkadot. And I think we're trying to understand what were the growth drivers for Ethereum and what's possibly missing in the Polkadot ecosystem. And I mean, it's great to maybe identify them, but how can we contribute to change that? And we believe price feeds can be one driver. Because why would you want to have an LSD instead of just staking? From an investor's perspective, you want to utilize this and ideally generate more yield with that. And I think that's an amazing opportunity and possibly even a bigger one for the Polkadot ecosystem, because everybody's, very convicted within the ecosystem on DOT, I'd say, and utilizing this to build new products and providing capital and collateral for these products, I think is a huge opportunity. And I'm still extremely hopeful that we'll see this coming to life very soon.
Yeah. Christian, at Bifrost, you guys offer an LSD product as well, and a couple of derivative options, I believe. Not just in the Polkadot ecosystem. I'm gonna come to Nick for that. I wanna ask your opinion on the industry as a whole as well. Where do you think we lie in terms of issuers, capital staked, etc.? Have we started to reach a peak of user adoption, or is it still early for LSDs?
Sure. Well, I believe that, as you mentioned, Bifrost at the moment offer liquid staking derivatives on Polkadot, Kusama, but also on Ethereum and Filecoin. I believe that we didn't reach the peak. The situation, the overall situation of the market, didn't help in that sense. Of course, we can see that over the last 6 months we had this huge increase of liquid staking. It even overcome, for example, DEXs. If you check on DeFi Llama, for example, the TVL, which was driven basically by the Chappelle upgrade. A lot of people started to stake their ETH and they choose the liquid staking. I think that one of the issue at the moment that we are trying to overcome, starting from the Polkadot ecosystem, but it's something that we will apply to other ecosystem that we are covering, is the access, lowering the threshold for user in order to get in touch with the product that we are offering, and have an easy access to liquid staking. There is a lot of misconception about liquid staking. People really don't understand what it is, especially like in terms of like decentralized, completely permissionless liquid staking. It happens to me most of the time when I go to, for example, conferences that people come to us at Bifrost Corner or Bifrost booth, asking like if we are working, such as like Binance, you know, you're like carrying on, like kind of collecting their tokens, like staking on Bifrost, and then like giving away a V token, which is the derivative that Bifrost offers. It's really not like that. We have this validator election track. We have this system to avoid kind of slashing in order to, you know, protect users from that. So I think that education is something that we are really trying to push at the moment in order to, you know, give them a clear idea of what it is and why it should be like a kind of an alternative to the on-chain normal staking.
Yeah, I think you're right. It's still early for so many of the average users who are now starting to realize, oh, hang on a second, I've only just got used to DeFi where I can earn yield on my tokens. Now I can actually lock up my tokens and stake them and actually get a derivative token back as well. I mean, it's actually something, it's a new paradigm for a lot of the average users out there. And I think for us that are deep in the ecosystem, we forget that the average user out there isn't aware of exactly, you know, what is available and what's possible and how these products work. Talking about deep in the ecosystem, Nick, you're DeFi lead at Parity, so you've got your finger on the pulse of exactly what's going on in terms of substrate-based products, projects. Where does the industry lie for Polkadot? So bringing it down to a more focused overview, what do you think, man?
So actually, I have to have the pulse both in the Substrate and Polkadot ecosystem, but also have a pulse in what's happening outside.
Okay.
Because my job is to bring new players into the ecosystem. So I think it's fair to make a comparison with the staking culture in Polkadot compared to, for example, Ethereum, which is currently the leader. And there, from first principles, liquid staking is derived from staking, which is the ability to stake tokens in a proof of stake network. So starting there, we can say that Polkadot has a more mature staking technology infrastructure than Ethereum, right? Ethereum just went through the transition of proof of work into proof of stake and just recently enabled actual withdrawals. Whereas in Polkadot, we've been doing it since the start. We pioneered the nominated proof of stake consensus mechanism, which actually allowed people, normal, regular retail people, to actually stake at the protocol layer. So we've been already doing that for a handful of years. And you can see it by the numbers. Currently, Polkadot staked as a percentage of circulating supply is close to 45%, whereas in Ethereum is just 20%. And it's increasingly growing with the kind of the push that liquid staking derivatives are making. So there, we would say that we're a little bit more mature. But then the other angle of liquid staking derivatives, for me, liquid is kind of a synonym of functionality. And that's where Ethereum obviously is. It's miles ahead, right? They already have a more mature DeFi infrastructure with DEXs, money markets, et cetera, and that's where a lot of these liquid staking products are kind of enhancing their products. Whereas here in Polkadot, we're a little bit behind, and we have also some infrastructural challenges that prevent us from getting that adoption. But of course, Bifrost, Hydra, and a lot of other ecosystem players are really helping to get that staking culture up at the parachain level to enhance functionality and increase utility.
Nice, man. I really like that distinction. Polkadot's got a more advanced staking culture, whereas Ethereum has a more advanced sort of DeFi culture because there's a lot more functionality there. I like that distinction, man. Anish, did you want to say something?
Yeah, I was about to say the following, and he has summarized it quite well. So liquid staking in general is very useful where in an ecosystem, the overall liquidity is less, for example, Filecoin. And the other part is that once you actually think of this as like a layered, like a layering of cakes in that sense. And literally, that's what he's referring to. If you are able to bridge between the two, and this is where people like Bifrost is going to be really helpful. If you could actually have a liquid staking protocol in one L1, and you can actually take that across to other L1s, and where in the DeFi ecosystem actually has better ability to provide other products on top of it, right? Then the overall growth of the liquid staking protocol in the underlying L1 would be much faster than if you just focus on Ethereum, I mean, any L1, for example, Ethereum. Ethereum managed to do that because it's massive, right? And they had all the pieces there, just a market.
Yeah, exactly. It's a market situation, isn't it? All right. What about hurdles and challenges for XCM-based LSDs? You know, we've spoken about general hurdles and challenges. XCM-based LSDs, it's a different kettle of fish. Start with you, Christian.
It's not like that different, but I want to like come up with what you mentioned before, that the main like barrier that we need to overcome, especially like when it comes to Polkadot and Kusama, is that right now there is a lack of use cases for many of like liquid staking derivatives, not only on Bifrost, but like also like I would say across the ecosystem, and we are actively working for that. We are trying to avoid the so-called problem of the siloed liquidity. That means that you stake token through Bifrost, that could be DOT, or like it could be also a parachain token, and then you get the V token, but then you don't have anywhere to like, you know, use your V token, and you have just this kind of liquidity that is like stalled in there. So what we are actively looking to achieve is like bringing on the table like new use cases for our user, and XCM is very helpful on this because it allows like a high grade of interoperability between parachains. We are actually working on a palette that should make the whole staking on Bifrost through Bifrost very easier, like accessible for people, for users that want to, you know, stake their token with us and actually have like a direct, let's say, connection with, for example, Moonbeam. We are about to launch this palette in August, and then like as a consequence is also another like, you know, big parachain like Astar, and also DApp built on top of that. So it will open up for a like vast spectrum of use cases, either if you want to, you know, provide liquidity to a DEX, even like with other protocols. For example, we are in touch with HydraDX to provide like V token on their Omnipool. I mean, there is a lot of things going on. Of course, it takes time, but I mean, we are all working and building towards the same direction. So I'm pretty confident that it should be something that could be overcome.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like
JAKUB, did you want to add to that?
Add to what?
To what Christian was saying. I just saw you with the microphone, so I want to give you the option.
He's right. Like we are excited once the palette will be ready. So not sure if you know, like our treasury is currently buybacking DOT from the market, and we obviously want to make this DOT a little bit more useful or a little bit more utilized. So we are waiting on Bifrost and XCM until we will be able to trustlessly stake our DOT at our treasury via Bifrost, and then take the V dot back and bootstrap it as liquidity in Omnipool and help them and help the whole ecosystem with like more liquid V dot and other derivatives as well. And we are buybacking also IBTC, but we are thinking about ETH, and that would be a similar, like we would like to support Bifrost and their VETH offering by staking the ETH through them. Yeah.
Paul, before I get on to some XCM advantages, I want to stay on this sort of topic here. Your perspective from the Polkadot ecosystem. It's, as we said, it's still early for liquid staking derivatives. How can we see greater growth for the Polkadot ecosystem with regards to LSDs?
Yeah, I think we have already summarized it quite well. I think it's the use case and the utility which will drive the adoption. And I think this is the big opportunity. I think a lot of people have been discussing the absence of, I don't know, stables maybe in Polkadot or other things. So by having LSDs present and through XCM interoperable across those chains, I think that's kind of a solution for a lot of problems, and we still tend to have this, I don't know, perspective on things which are missing and should be bridged to Polkadot. But with LSDs, I think we have actually the opportunity to bootstrap a lot of these missing pieces natively. So I think this will be a growth driver. And then there are just a couple of components. I mean, you guys just discussed it, right? You finishing the pallet, guys bootstrapping the liquidity. Then for us on the Oracle side is having basically DEX trading data, which is deep enough and resilient enough then to have a collateral price which works for different DeFi primitives. And I think this is all slowly coming together, and we'll probably see this effect when then also it makes sense not just for the people excited about the ecosystem, but just somebody seeking yield to get more than already an attractive being long on DOT plus what you can reap from using the LSD and, I don't know, minting a stable coin, providing collateral in a DEX, yeah. So I think that's the growth driver.
Anish?
He just kind of covered the point I was about to say. It was literally one of the key things is like, if you have stable currencies in an ecosystem and if you have your LSD form part of the basket, then there is a real use for that thing in that sense. So it will actually drive up the demand for LSDs. And in that sense, when it drives up the demand for LSDs, definitely there'll be more staking. So that will be one of the lowest hanging fruits.
Yeah,
thank you for pointing.
I like that. Okay, so I asked the question, I framed the question around hurdles, but now let's look at the advantages of XCM-based LSDs. Nick, take us through some potential advantages for XCM-based LSDs.
Yeah, before touching on the advantages, I wanted to add one of the kind of constraints or risks added to what they mentioned. I also had the experience of working at Akala where we also had a liquid staking protocol, so I kind of have both views from a parachain level and now from a more broader parity level. And I actually found there was also a kind of social competitive constraint, and maybe Christian knows a bit more about this. But everyone wanted a piece of the staking pie, right? It's a revenue driver, and all these protocols and foundations are looking and desperately looking for revenues. So they all started to set up their own liquid staking derivatives, and we started to find like this competitiveness where now coming to the advantages of XCM, it was kind of a blocker of XCM use cases because parachains would say, no, but we have our own liquid staking derivative, so why would we adopt Akala's or why we adopt Bitfrost? And then going back to looking at parallels to Ethereum, like many things in DeFi, first mover advantage is huge. And if you compare Lido's product with Rocket Pool's product, it's not that different. But if you compare the market share, is a huge gap, right? And it's just that Lido was first. Whereas in Polkadot, we haven't seen that, right? A lot of these liquid staking products came at the same time to market. So they're all right now pretty even. I think it's gonna come down to utility and functionality, which is what I was alluding to at the beginning, the synonym of liquidity being functionality. And that's where substrate, XCM, customization, security, is going to play a huge role to see like what's the one that's going to attract the most amount of liquidity and functionality at the end of the day.
Actually, Rocket Pool was first. They were,
oh yeah?
Yeah, they were building it from 2018 or something like that.
All right.
But Lido executed it better. Like the key success of the Lido and STE was basically big pool in the curve, STE, ETH, and then thanks to that liquidity in that pool, MakerDAO and Aave basically accept STE as a collateral and and like liquid staking. It was not sure if it was mentioned here, but the main advantage of liquid staking derivatives or tokens is that it's superior collateral, I think even like worldwide. So
the thing I was about to say was like this pretty much goes to the same thesis that everybody was saying. Like the whole idea of liquid staking is you create like it's traditional money markets, right? Like if you're in investment banking, if you do liquid staking, you instantaneously recognize the pattern. That's literally what happened with Lido, right? Lido guys recognized this, they managed to get it on a curve and other places. So you as an investor not only had the ability to get some staking tokens back, but you had to ability to collateralize it and get more stuff out of it. So this was like a, literally when it collapses, it's going to be a massive collapse, but like orders of magnitude. So if you had $100 underlying, you go all the way up and you have a two to three orders of magnitude all the way up. And that allows you to do a lot more. You can leverage a lot more. That's literally what I am hoping that if you guys really bootstrap it the right way, you will be able to do. Like literally the volume within the whole DeFi space, it's like a product of different things, right? Like if you have a, say, an LSD pool that has like a mill, then if the LSD is allowed to stake in someplace else, the return of that multiplied is going to be the thing that feeds back. So the overall ecosystem size increases significantly.
Yeah.
That's exactly the point. Without getting any liquidity from other ecosystems, you can basically double. It's like money supply. You just feed it into the system back.
Christian, what about yourself, man? Advantages of XCM-based LSDs.
Thank you. But definitely the best advantages for us is like, first of all, like security, because we've seen that one of the biggest issue for like LSD outside Polkadot, like with these bridges, was like the hack of these bridges, so like the hack of the so-called middleman. This is not simply possible on Polkadot based on like the architecture of like the parachain, the interaction that there are among them. So like this is something really, it's a key point for us, like for Bifrost, but also like to put in place, for example, other kind of like, strategies, use cases when deploying to different parachains to built on top of parachains. And it's something that also we try to, focus on, also like offering like products outside the Polkadot ecosystem. For example, on Filecoin, they just launched their FVM. We are actually the first liquid staking protocol on Filecoin. The thing we are focusing the most at the moment is how to make this kind of like the operability within Filecoin and for Filecoin user the more secure as possible, of course. Definitely like the interoperability and for us, it's very easy. Like we set up a HRMP channel with a parachain. We find a use case that could be like, provide liquidity on a DEX built on top of one of the parachain, or like to provide liquidity to the Omnipool, use it as a collateral. For example, we're in touch with Interlay, for example, to use our V token as a collateral for the like pool, for example, KBTC, etc. This wouldn't be like possible outside the Polkadot ecosystem with this degree of like facility, like with this degree of like accessibility for both on the protocol side, but also on the user side, because for user, it literally takes as soon as the new, for example, pallet will be live, it literally will take a click on the target chain to get your V token on your wallet. So you don't have like all the hassle of going to Bifrost, mint the V token, go back to the parachain, bridging back your token to your wallet again, use it on the parachain or even on the DApp. It will be like instant, directly from the parachain or from the DApp. You will have your V token available and you can use it as you like. And this is something that is possible thanks to XCM and to the architecture of Polkadot itself.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Okay, so you mentioned, I didn't actually realize that you were with Akala, Nick. And I hope you don't mind me asking, but I think for the audience, it'd be cool to, how's Akala doing? Are they all right? I mean, they were first mover advantage. You spoke about that. They were the first parachain on Karuru, obviously the first parachain on Kusama, Akala first parachain on Polkadot, and obviously, it's been a rough ride after what happened. How are they at the moment? Are they stable? Excuse the pun. Are they going to get through this?
You're putting me in a tough situation here, James. Unfortunately, I have no insider information
Okay.
other than what you guys probably see on Twitter. Since I left the call, yeah, I haven't had much conversation and communication with the team. Also, unfortunately, a lot of the people that I was working with also left the call at the same time that I left, and they went to other projects, both outside and inside the ecosystem. So yeah, I have no information besides what I hope to see, which I think it's a common sentiment across the ecosystem, which is to see Akala come back to life. I think it is a great project. They had a great idea. It was providing a lot of value, a lot of exposure to Polkadot in general. So seeing them in the current situation is obviously not a net positive for Polkadot in general. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I mean, exactly as you say, our sentiment is that they do indeed get through it. But thanks, man. I appreciate your openness on that.
Appreciate your question.
Yeah. Okay, so guys, we're wrapping it up. Last 5 minutes here. We have two of arguably the biggest DEXs in the ecosystem with us, Hydra and Bifrost. What are some of the things that we should be looking at as an ecosystem to grow utility for for DEXs like yourselves? Let's start with Anish, and then we'll come around. Just closing comments.
So if you were to ask about DEXs and what actually makes DEXs better, generally speaking, there is no magical thing. This is a race towards the bottom for everybody in that sense. So essentially what happens is, like, when you get in, if you have enough of liquidity and there's enough of volume, somebody else, if you don't have the stickiness, somebody else will turn up and they will vampire you. The other part of it is, like, if you don't have enough of fees in this, you don't have the ability to run everything the way you want it, and you can't actually build the thing into the future. The other part about it is, like, your DEX or the size of the DEX is a function of the size of the ecosystem. Unless you have some bridges or something else that actually, allows you to get access to other ecosystems. And last of the things, given we are on the topic, is like, try have LSDs. LSDs is a very, very good way to bootstrap without being exposed to some of the, magic of other things. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, I like it.
Thanks. So what can a community do for better DEXs? That was the question. Okay, so I would say the community should be probably a little bit more vocal and asking more harder for, like, finishing integration of the ledger, then create a little bit pressure on the development of Snowfork or maybe other trustless bridges, because we need liquidity from mainly ETH, but also other ecosystems. We can tap biggest pool of crypto liquidity and wealth right now thanks to Interlay and the decentralized Bitcoin bridge. So the community part there should be or could be to play with Interlay and also provide them feedback to help them to make their product better, and also think how ecosystem can use IBTC across multiple parachains, not just a couple of us. And then this was a great point that, like, DEX is subset of any ecosystem where is it plays, and, like, highly relying. So you probably know that Omnipool is special case that we can't really list there every token, because it can, like, if the token is, like, I don't know, like, racked or exploited or whatever, it can, like, create risk for the other assets in the Omnipool.
In the Omnipool, yeah.
Yeah. So if, like, obviously we implement some, like, security measures like dynamic fees and circuit breakers, which can, like, make this like not as big issue. But what I want to say, we as a DEX, we are highly relying on amount of quality assets which are there traded or swapped or exchanged. So that means that it would be great if Polkadot community can create, again, like, productive pressure, let's say, on other teams and make them, I don't know, like, maybe more transparent or help them to provide like productive feedback, how they can improve their offerings for their users or like overall crypto community. So then these projects will strive better as well. And then people even from the other ecosystems and either retail people or like funds, hedge funds, and bigger allocators will come to Hydra or other DEXs and will obviously for buying them and generating more volumes. And then they will see like, oh, wait a second, I can do more with these like staking derivatives, and I can also like take those staking derivatives and maybe take a loan and buy more of these interesting parachain tokens which I was ignoring so far because their product are great or like on par with everything else in crypto, or even like much better thanks to XCM and Polkadot and Substrate. So yeah, that's how we can do DEXs better. That the whole ecosystem needs to be better. We can't build just like best DEX ever, and then what? Like the ecosystem can't be just about us or like 1, 2, 3 other projects.
Yeah. Nick.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with everything that JAKUB said. I think there's two layers that we can talk about here. One is like the actual DEX mechanism layer, which Hydra is doing a great job in pushing different use cases with Substrate. We got Mangata, we got Stella also in Moonbeam, kind of pushing the boundaries, and then Polkadot bringing the first order book DEX to Polkadot. So I think we're doing good there. We have a lot of teams doing very interesting things, but I think the biggest challenge is more at the infrastructure layer, right? They can build the best product ever, but if you don't make it easier for users, liquidity to come in and actually be safe, then it's just going to be very hard for them to actually prove out their concepts, right? So things like bridges, we currently don't have the best bridging infrastructure. It's obviously our architecture makes it a little bit harder than any other monolithic chain, but we're currently working on that. Also multi-sigs to get multi-sigs and custodians, which is, I would say, one of the biggest pain points that the ecosystem currently has, which does enable institutional capital to move out of the relay chain into the parachains. Native stablecoins, which is also being improved slowly. All these little pieces that for other ecosystems are trivial, for us is obviously taking a little bit longer than it should have. But hopefully once these two pieces meet, innovation at the DEX level and the needed infrastructure for him to be able to prove out their models, hopefully we'll see more traction.
Yeah, that's really well said.
Yeah, which is something also, I totally agree with that. It's something that we also, as a liquid staking provider, we are trying to implement. Of course, like on Bifrost, you have this kind of like instant swap functionality, but we are in touch with all the DEXs in the ecosystem, as you mentioned, like for example, HydraDX, Mangata, Stella Swap as well. As soon as the VStar will be live, also with, for example, DEXs on Astar, such as, I don't know, Art Swap. On our ends, we are trying to provide the biggest range of V token possible in order to, like give more use cases to, fill more pool in this DEXs and give the chance to user to actually, decide to swap to leverage of this asset that we provide in their like DeFi operativity and get like increase the amount of possibility and use cases of the so-called LSD5, which is this DeFi driven by LSD, which is something that like increased its value over the last, I believe, 6 months, and it's apparently it won't stop. So I mean, our commitment is that, and we hope that we're going to succeed with the whole ecosystem.
I think you will. As we've seen, what you guys have done so far, the adoption within the ecosystem itself has been extremely widespread. So I think you guys are in a good position to do so. Paul?
I think like looking also across different ecosystems, specialization is a driver of being, I think, a very relevant DEX. We see this when we're looking at price peaks and seeing where we actually get the deepest liquidity. It's usually then from the pairs where somebody has been specialized on doing stable swaps or whatnot. I think this is not this goes even beyond there, because I think also with a lot of ecosystems, L0s competing and collaborating L1s, everybody's going to find somehow a specific value proposition, collaborate together, and then the DEXs within these ecosystems should ideally also be focusing on the use cases these ecosystems try to solve. So I think we won't see just fork Uniswap V2s being the dominating DEXs across different relevant ecosystems, but specialization and new use cases and providing reason them to interact with these ecosystems, which will be increasingly be connected. So I think this is a driver for success.
All right, thank you so much, Paul. Thank you so much, gentlemen. Don't go anywhere. I am going to take liberty and just go a little bit over. We are scheduled to have a break, which is interesting because it doesn't say on my schedule lunch. I'm assuming that does mean we will be having lunch. So I'm going to eat into that break a little bit. I'm sure you guys have questions. You have an incredible bunch of guys up here on stage. I'll take two questions from the audience. And yeah, let's bring the microphone down.
Hello, everybody. I'm very big fan of liquid staking. I make many topics in liquid staking. I use it a lot. For me, the objective of the liquid staking is really to add many use cases for the DOT token. But currently, when we make a classic staking, we have still one important use case, that is to vote in the different governance of Polkadot. Very often, when we present Polkadot to the other ecosystem, we really explain how the governance is different than in the other ecosystem. I think for retail, they don't care, but for big users, it can be very important for them to still continue to have their governance even in the liquid staking. So it's not really a question, it's more a comment, and what do you think of it?
No,
Good
but
one.
it was a very good question. Actually, it's something that our team is looking into it because we received this feedback before from the community. That's why we tried. I mean, there are like different features of our V token. I didn't like explore that before, but I can do it now thanks to your question. One of these is like the fact that is not like this at the moment. What we are trying to retain system to give V dot, in this case V dot, but V token holders in general, the possibility to retain their governance, power, even like providing their token on chain, like for the staking on chain. And this, I would say that combined with the fact that if you stake through Bifrost and get the V token, you can also unstake in a shorter period because there is a particular queue system that will allow user to unstake their, for example, DOT, and not necessarily they have to wait 28 days to get their V dot back, because if there is like a large number of new stakers, this period can like decrease significantly. So these are like all it's like these small features that are not small at all that we are trying to improve in order to overcome this problem that was like something that we discussed within our community as well. I get the point that like users will have like many DOT, like they have some bag, they don't want to lose their voting power just because they are staking, so they want to retain this power. Yeah, as I said, it's really complex. It's something that you don't see in liquid staking. In fact, it's very difficult to overcome this issue. We're actually working on that, like with the team, and it's on the pipeline. It's something that we think this is one of those like game-changing feature that could really improve the adoption of the product, of the token. So we are trying to solve it.
Yeah.
Just so that you are aware of it. So it also has a downside. It would definitely be actually causing a lot more centralization, even though that's a very good upside for large institutional stakers. At the same time, allowing them to aggregate, unless you have some very strong inverse mechanisms like quadratic voting or things of that sort, that's a very, very tricky position to be in. You could be held hostage very soon. A very strategic player could actually, given the rate of growth of liquid staking, and if you just extrapolate it with a small amount of capital, they might be able to have significant amount of governance voting, and that will be very bad for the ecosystem.
That's also a very good point. I like that. Thanks, Anish. Last question, if anyone wants to follow up from that. All right, so we're all good. Gentlemen, thank you so much. That was a treat. It really was. Wish we had more time. We appreciate it and wish you guys all the best for the remainder of this week at ECC. Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Okay, guys, it's a break until 1:45, so we've got 20 minutes. If you want to chat to any of these guys quickly, you're welcome to do so. And we'll see you up here in 20 minutes' time. Food is downstairs.